All right, hey everyone, Justin here with SF Garnish Music Production. Hope you're doing well. So I'm going to get into some pretty cool things today. I don't know if you guys have Ableton Live 11 Suite yet. It just came out about a month ago, and 10 was already incredible. I've been using Ableton Live since it was probably 3.1 back in the days of the 2005, 2006. And I would say about 2011, 2012, it's became the probably most advanced digital audio workstation on the market, in my opinion. And very excited to go through the new features of Ableton 11 with you guys. So we're going to get right into it today. Actually, before I do that, I just want to give you more information around SF Garnish Music Production, which is a school that we teach these digital audio workstations, mixing, mastering, and sound design. And we also have our studio based in North Oakland where we teach in person and online. And we have a whole audio video studio at your disposal if you want to use it. So we're going to get into our session here. And at the end of today, I'll go through our website a little bit if you guys want to take some class. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. I really want to make sure I'm going live today too. So I'm going to go ahead and play you some of this as I check my live feed. All right. So back to Restream, and here we go. Now, if you guys want to know what this is or how this was created, you can go through our previous live on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, to know when this happened or how this happened. Got some Today's in here, a little bit loud. You can see the different scenes here in session view that we're utilizing. All right, changing up some fade to gray just to put it out there. So there's a couple automations going on here, quite a bit actually, to get our wobble bass, which we did on a West Coast Wednesdays wobble. And like I said before, if you guys want to know how this was all created, I did this live on our West Coast Wednesdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to get into new features in Ableton Live 11, what you will see and what it will feel like. In 10, there's some things that kind of threw me off and I was like, why is this here? And now I know. So I'm a little bit more understanding of new features and excited to kind of see what throws me off, because every time something changes, it just seems to get better once I learn it. So going into a few features today of new things. So right here in the right-hand side of your main session view of your master, when you expand out, right? So this is getting smaller here. When you expand this out, you have your time signature 4/4 coming in and your BPM. So you can actually customize your BPM. This is something that previously in other versions, it was available, but it was kind of hidden. You actually had to go in here and click rename and put 120 BPM as a title and then verse, and that would then automate it to that. But now it actually has it right over here. Okay, so a little bit different. So I'm going to Command Z that. Okay, so we have this new feature in session view where we can see more of our time signatures and our BPM. We are also going to get into randomization. It actually is called something else. It's called chance. Okay. It used to be called randomization, or but what it does is chance and velocity. This is, so how you bring this up, let's go back to the simple settings here. We have this bottom area in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see my mouse. Okay, actually, let me just zoom in here and see if this works for you. All right, so right down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you have the ability to work with your MIDI track or your audio track and the different settings here, or your effects. Okay, and you can toggle through just by clicking on them. All right, zooming back out. So now, this is something different in Ableton 11, is these features here are brand new. You have ways of looking at your automations, okay, your note expressions, and then right here, this is your device, okay? So here we are with our device, and we want to be able to create some different automations. Okay. All right. So in this view, what's great about this is that you have two options. Okay. Our automations right here, you can literally just press the B function to go to draw mode, and see how it does squares like this. It's because it is to grid. Okay. I'm going to go Command Shift 4, take it off grid. Oops, that actually, Command 4, how about that? There we go, Command 4. And now it's more linear, okay? It's less to grid, it's not to grid. So that's how you're gonna wanna do some customizations of your sound. This is a reverb right now. I don't wanna do that to my reverb. Now, if you aren't seeing these extra features down below, you're going to want to expand out this little arrow right here. Let me just go ahead and zoom in. This arrow that's so small does so much, okay? If it looks different, then you have these extra features that when they're highlighted, you have velocity and you have chance, okay? The velocity is saying how hard something is hit, and chance is how probability, right? How often it will be hit. Okay, if something's at 60% chance, it will only hit 60% of the time. If it's at 100%, it'll always hit. Okay, so if you don't see this at the bottom, expand this out, and you will see your different probability, right? Your chance and your velocity. As you can see here, there's two dots for velocity because we have multiple different instruments here, right? We have our kick and our hi-hat hitting at the same time. So to really see this, I'm going to go back by pressing B. I'm going to go back into my pointer, and I'm going to just click on and highlight something, and you can see where the chance is set and where the velocity is set. Notice how chance is 100%, okay? And the reason why is because we played this live with our push 2, And the only way to set up chance and probability is by going in and setting it right here. So I'm going to go into my hi-hat. I'm going to kind of zoom out so I can really see this better myself. And I'm going to highlight all of my hi-hat. Let's make sure that this, oh, okay. So we want that off right there. So here's my hi-hat. And I'm going to bring this chance down. Notice how everything's lowering. That's highlighted. I'm going to bring this down to like 50%. And now how you can bring that range of chance up. Okay. This is your velocity range, so you can actually, this is how much randomization you'll have. And then also right here as well, this is how much randomization. Okay, and this is also a way when you click on this, it will randomize all of your probability, right, of how much it'll hit. So notice how that just randomized quite a bit, 0 to 100%. If I bring this up, it's going to be more possible of hits. Notice how these randomize higher. Okay, let's go up to like 98%. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to this now. Okay, we're on this track. I'm going to solo it. As you can see, this area right here, I didn't capture this and how it's way more straight, right? I'm going to press randomize at 98% and it randomizes right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to all of that again. This really brings in a feel of a drummer that's not so directly hitting every single note. So a drummer that has really good feel puts in their own human intention, and that's something that you can now put into your programming. Let's go ahead and listen to that whole piece. All right, so what we have here is randomization and velocity changes. Let's go into velocity because we just did a little bit with randomization and chance. So let's take out that in the bottom area right here. Just gonna bring that up a little bit bigger so you see this, how small this is, right? Okay, taking away the chance, our velocity is on. And remember too, if you have these on and you don't have this expanded, right, it's not going to be there. So here's our velocity we're looking at. We can actually expand this out to really see our velocities and our full screen a little bit bigger. Okay. I'm going to change up my velocity now on my hi-hat. Now, if you did this to a kick or a snare, you might not want to as much unless you had a lot of snare going on. What's great about velocity and chance on the hi-hat is there's enough of them moving around to, yeah, just express and feel. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring these lower. And notice how when I change velocity range, this is how much probability it will be within 127 being 100% velocity all the way down to generally this bottom line. And notice how the bottom line is shifting, right? This was played with the push too, so there's a little bit of feel already in it that I had. I also had my groove put on and I quantized it to this reggae groove that also put a little bit of velocity change in there. All right, so that's quite a bit of range. And let's go ahead and listen to this again. So what I did is that velocity, I'm really liking it a lot. The velocity change and the choice, right? The randomization. And I had this quieter in the mix, this hi-hat. And I'm actually going to bring this higher in the mix just because it has a better feel to it now. I was kind of hiding it because it was so computerized and digital, and it's less digital now. So I'm bringing up. Let's go to 22-ish. Let's see how that sounds. A little too high. All right, so noticing that that actually doesn't show what we're doing because we're on the wrong scene. Let's go back up here. This is the one we're working on. All right, so right away, I'm really liking this one that I worked on much better than we had before. Just it doesn't have so much going on up on top, right? So if you were here with a previous session, I was kind of saying how bad the hi-hat sounds, and it will sound bad until you put this human feel into it, unless you are purposely going for an electronic feel in your music, which is totally possible. I like electronic music with a human feel myself. I'm highlighting all the hi-hat in the one that I just changed. Okay, it shows the range of velocity that we created here, right? The velocity range of 36. And we don't have to do anything other than just copy. And I'm going to go down to the next one. Zooming out, I'm taking this little area right down here. Just go ahead and zoom into this. Right here. And when it goes in, I just press the up. I'm holding my mouse and scrolling up or down to then zoom in or zoom out. Okay, zoom in, zoom out could be something that can really change your workflow depending on how you want to do it, right? Knowing your mouse is really helpful. Okay, so now this is my next beat here. I'm highlighting all of the next track. Notice how my velocity does not have a range yet. It's set to 0 over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste Command V because I did Command C previously. And there it is. Okay, so I have my hi-hat with all of the work I did on my new track right here. Let's go ahead and make sure of that by playing it. All right, let's go ahead and make sure that that was all put in there. Yeah, this does not have it yet. Command V, there we go. I think I might have done the one below it. So this now has it. Velocities. All right, so we have our velocity change. All right, getting a little bit lost on which one I'm working on here. This has our velocity, Command copy, and going to Command paste on here. Good, and our velocity is showing up. Okay, so that does mean it's there. Cool. So now that I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and just bring this down so I can see things a little better. Just FYI too, in session view and arrangement view, you don't always have to look at everything here. You can take things out right over here on your right-hand side. Go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see this. And I'm going to take out my track delay. I like my volume actually. I don't need that and I don't need that. So this is where my ins and outs are. I'm not doing really anything with that today. All right. Okay, so here we are talking about Ableton 11 changes in velocity and chance, right? And having this within our MIDI device, and how do we create velocity and chance. Once I've done it, I'm going to change these to yellow because it shows that I have worked on velocity and chance. It's a nice way to kind of know where your workflow is. And these are ones that I have not changed yet. Now, each one of these beats I customized per what I wanted for the song, the variation, right here. So notice how my hi-hat's a little bit different. If I just copied and pasted all my hi-hat to the next one, all of my variations of hi-hat would not be there anymore. So you really want to make sure that you're doing what you want to and not erasing things of your previous work. So I'm going to do this by hand once again so you guys can just kind of see how I do this again. I'm in chance and I'm going to change my velocity, bring that down a little bit and bring it to about, it was 36 for the other one. And then I go into chance. Now this is my chance right here. And I'm going to randomize just a little bit. Let's do 1%. Boom. All right, that's kind of getting lower. Cool, let's just see how that sounds. And the same thing again, right? I'm gonna randomize and bring my chance up to about 40. Okay, now this is my loop. It ends right here, so I don't really have to worry about this unless I extend it out again. So, and this is the one I'm working on, changing my color. Let's see how that sounds. All right, so there we have that. And let's just make sure that this is also what we want going in. And I did already change this. That's what was happening. I was changing more than I thought. Okay, and these are not changed yet. And I'm going to press the minus function to see everything here. Highlight them, bring my velocity down, and my range up. And then my chance. Now, you could do this by randomization, but you could also draw it with the B function, okay? Just come in here and you can just draw it yourself as another way. Let's try that. Now, what's great about chance is that it will never play the same thing. It'll have that randomization come in for your beat and your song. And it'll always be in tempo to your groove that you've also created. We're talking about trying to find a human feel with your digital drums. And when you go to grid, right, when you create a beat, it's going to be very precise right on grid. And then I would create a groove over here. If you want to create your own groove, you can open up your grooves, your groove pool. If you don't have anything listed here yet, you'd want to type in groove. Let's see if we have something here. Go down to all options, all results, and there you are. So there's a lot of different grooves that you can pull up and put into your groove pool. Okay. What I often do is I just put a 16. Let's try and see if that comes up. There you go, groove 16. And these are just different feels, bolero, bomba, different accents. And you just literally drag and drop this into your groove pool. And there it is. So that when you want to try it out with your track, bomba accent 16ths pops up. Okay, and you can also change your timing, quantization, randomization, and velocity based on that. Let's just see what that sounds like with this beat here just for a sec, since we're playing with it. Yeah. If I go to something triplet quantization, it obviously shows you that it's working, right? These are more subtle changes when I go to this bomba. I'm hearing it. It's not exactly what I want. So I'm just gonna go back to my regular one. Now it doesn't actually change where your MIDI is unless you press this arrow function right here. It's pretty small. This arrow right here sends it information, and it will move all of these just a little bit. So you see how that just moved a tad bit? All right. So I actually did that groove 2 times on there. It's kind of pushed it even a little bit more into the pocket that I like. And you can do this groove on all instruments, your bass, your guitar as well. It doesn't have to be just your MIDI device. So this one's changed. I'm gonna make this yellow. Now this one has not. So like I said, I'm just going through and changing my chance and velocity of my hi-hat specifically. I'm not too worried about the velocity and chance with my kick and snare, because when something's so simple as a kick and snare, if it doesn't happen per se, yeah, we could try it for maybe a part of our song. But I like where my kick and snare is per se. Bringing my velocity down, my velocity range up, and my chance, I'm going to, oh, there we go. So we can also randomize our velocity because I'm highlighting that right now. And that's a cool way to spread it out. Let's just see what that sounds like. Good. So when I go to now highlight chance, I go randomization and try that too. Definitely dancing around a lot more on the top. Very cool feature of Ableton Live 11. Now this is one where I purposely put my triplet pattern in, and same thing again. I want my hi-hat to be the one that I'm working with. Let's just go ahead and use randomization. And this is our range, by the way, of how much we're going to randomize. So let's just do a smaller range. There we go. So what it does is that's showing you how much it's going to spread out from where it currently is, right? So your high and low won't be so vast. If you do 1 to 127, you're talking about a pretty vast range. You probably won't want that on everything. I'm going to go highlight chance now. And let's go ahead and let's bring this a little bit lower. So this is a similar thing, is that our 16% is just showing how much variation there will be in our chance. Let's bring that up a little bit. A little bit more of a range there. Let's try that out. Only want one of those. We had some phasing going on. We had 2 different drums of the same, and that was phasing happening. Going back again, this is just so much more square on the top end because chance and velocity is not set up. So I'm just going to highlight my hi-hat. My randomization is chance. There we go. Change that up a little bit. Let's bring that a little higher. More change up. Velocity is highlighted now. And randomize. Okay, like I said too, you can always paint it with your B function and draw it out for yourself. Notice that I have this highlighted just a hi-hat, and that's why that is drawing the hi-hat, right? So let's go ahead and play that. So much better. Like a breath of fresh air with your music, trying to create that breath. Now I'm hearing that sweeping, and it's kind of, there's quite a bit going on. So I'm going to slide over to my riser, and why is that rising so much? It just keeps happening and happening. I'm going to take it off loop mode. Okay. Without loop mode, my ending point is a little bit later. Change that up and just put it right there. Let's try that out. And it stops after that. If I ever want that to come back again, I could always turn that on. It's really nice to be able to customize your screen, not only your colors and feel and look in your settings, but just being able to drag this around. If I'm not really working in the bottom and I'm working mostly in my scenes in session view, I can create this larger area, minimize my left window. Now, this is something I wanted to do actually for you guys, is this right here is really important for if you're just starting off and you want to just have a natural tutorial constantly going, and you have that question of, what is this? What does it do? If you open up this bottom left-hand corner, everything that you scroll over, it will tell you what it is, right? It's showing a clip in session view, right? MIDI clip. Right here, showing an audio clip, audio or MIDI clip, same thing. Showing track volume, right? This is really helpful all around. Envelope editor and sample editor, right? These are different things that are new to Ableton 11 that I'm going through. All right. So we just went through randomization and randomization using velocity and choice. And we're going to go into some of the new effects. Now, Max for Live, if you don't know about Max for Live, it is an incredible tool. And if you don't have all of these listed yet, I would suggest making sure that you add this in by going to your packs and making sure they're in here. And you can also see what updates you have to do and also what other ones are available. Loop Master Mixtape, you just click on that and it will install. So what else should we install today? Spectral Textures. That sounds nice. You just click on it, install, and it goes through that process. It's a pretty easy and quick way. You can also go, it says get more packs at ableton.com. You have to make sure that you have your login to your account and that matches your license, and then you can grab all these extra cool things. They also have ones you can pay for there too. But there's so many free ones. I would just really encourage you to learn the free ones before you get into the paid ones. So it's loading about 1 gigabyte of spectral textures. And let's just go into that. Right away, it now is up here on top. And it has a spectral texture cinematic ALS. If I open this, it's going to actually create that, that session. And it's a great way to learn it. It also pops up over here with a little tutorial kind of on what it's all about. Let's go ahead and just close that out. Spectral Textures came out quite a while ago. Wondering if they might have anything new in effects. All right, let's keep looping until I click somewhere else. I'm going to try something out where we're going to play some of this and put some of these sounds into our session. Command-Shift-T creates a MIDI track. And I can just throw that over. And it becomes an instrument. Now I have a push too, so I'm playing this instrument with my push. Great. A little bit of sounds going on. I want my effects, my returns to be shown. There we go. My sends, that's what S is for. And let's put some of my big reverb on there, smaller reverbs a little bit. How about a little bit of delays? I like the idea of being able to put a tad bit of my auto pan and auto filter on. My amount, the rate, keep it real slow. Cool, if you have stereo going on, it should be showing that for you guys. And I want a little auto filter as well. Now, this is another feature that I want to get into in your macro controls. You can add up to 16 or diminish them as well. So let's zoom in here and just show this. So minus button goes all the way down to 1. This is great for just simplicity at a live show, just having the macro control that you need in front of you and nothing but that. Really makes it clean on your push 2 as well. And then you can add all of your extra ones. Notice how up to 9 and 10, nothing else is set, so we don't really need those. So this instrument is set for 8 macro controls. But you can create your own custom macros, and we can get into a little bit of that today. We have some time for that. So I'm going to put that into one of my tracks here. Let's play along. Leaving some space because this doesn't need to happen very often. Changing my auto filter a little bit, and I'm record enabled, doing some automation. So my hands are free now, and that's now automated. How I'm doing that is by making sure that my automation is set up here on the top, right? This is showing that when I press record, this record button, right, our automation will be picked up. So some very cool features, because this is actually how you can have that octopus effect of all those different hands for your live show, doing the exact functions you want, and then play your instrument, for example. Or back in the day, people had to have their 88, different faders, and they would just work on 1 or 2 faders, record that, and then they would have to bounce down and then do the next 2 faders, record that, bounce down when they had 2-inch tape. Now in the digital world, you can just do 1, start doing the next right away. The workflow is increased. So we're just creating that silence and then this one hit, just to create some texture behind it. All right, so that's one little way to work on some automations and working on some instruments. Let's go back to Max for Live, which is what I wanted to get into, and then create kind of our own custom Max for Live. Let's do that today. So in the next 20 minutes, we're going to go into Max for Live and create our own custom instruments. On the right-hand side of your screen here, I'm going to zoom into it so you see it. You have all your different plugins, right? These are the VSTs that have been purchased. Drop downs, Max for Live, and Convolution Reverb, incredible tool. I would say definitely check that out. Let's go into something here. Arduino. All right. Let's zoom back out and make an instrument. Command-Shift-T. My MIDI track. We're just kind of playing around here and seeing what new things we can create sound-wise. All right, drop instrument. So some of these are, these are effects that need to put onto an instrument. Let's find an instrument for this. Going to instruments, ambient evolving, drag and drop. All right, so this is actually talking about creating a device, using Bluetooth and mapping things to that parameter. So this is if I had like a pad device, an iPad with MIDI controllers going on there. So we're not going to do that today. Let's go back in and try a new Max for Live. Comer. All right. So doing an A/B test of what it sounds like before and after the Max for Live. Taking it off. Okay, so that's just this instrument by itself, the Air of Dread, with it on. There's some phasing going on. You can obviously turn your dry wet up. I'm going to put on my mallet so there's a little bit more sound there. So just kind of trying to do some customizations here of the sound. The fine-tuning of the sense. This is really helpful if you're just trying to make that wind a specific key in your song. Let's find out what the key of the song is and see what that sounds like. Wow. I actually do like the tuning of this changing around. So let's go ahead and pretty much just copy what we did with this note and paste it over here. Make sure it lands at a different time. Get off of draw mode. Let's bring that over here at the very end. And let's customize our tuning. Okay. Era of Dread, automation. Okay, fine tuning. Let's go ahead and draw this up. Get off from grid, Command 4. Oh, that put me on grid actually. Let's do that again. No. Control Z. Cool. We're off grid. Command 4. Now we're off grid. And it's going to loop around this way, so let's go ahead and have that dance around. Okay, let's open this up to kind of see what that is. Larger picture. All right. Now you can also, by pressing B, right? This is a draw function. B again takes it out. When you can select all and right click it, and you can go simplify envelope, right? That's really helpful to kind of just see more. Don't get distracted by all the little dots because unnecessary at times. So let's go ahead and zoom out and see how this sounds. Take off our sends and play this. Okay. So it's obviously not going to play until the MIDI comes in at the end right here. I want these to bring a little bit lower. I want a lot more reverb on this. Delays. Bring it back in the mix. Subtle sounds. All right, so we just created this Air of Dread mixed with a Comber Max for Live, and we're like, we like that combination, okay? And we're gonna highlight that by selecting the first one and then pressing Shift, selecting the second one. You can also just click over here and go Command A, which would select all of them, Command G, and it creates this little device over here, this instrument. Okay, this is very important to know what this is. When I expand out, this is showing you the instrument rack that you just created. It's a combination of the Air of Dread and the Comber. So this is where you start getting into your own instruments, right? By combining other people's effects and instruments and then creating a few different things. This is the last new thing that I'm going to go through today with Ableton Live 11. There's a few more in regard to follow features, follow functions where you can have somebody playing drums and follow the BPM of a live drummer. So that is something that you can get into. You can go to ableton.com to get a lot of information around new features as well. Just heads up on that. So once again, you can minus or plus your macros. We don't really have anything set to our macros yet, so let's just keep it small. Okay, we can also save this instrument. This is going to be space sound, Justin. And actually, Air of Dread. Air of Dread plus Comber. Yeah, just so I can kind of remember what this is. I do 01. If there's another version, I'll do 02. All right, and if I want these sounds, I would probably put them into custom racks in my favorites folder, right up here, my collections. Really important, easy spot to find your stuff so you're not searching so much. All right, so now in my custom racks, I have that space sounds right here, and I can drag that in at any point to a new session, ALS file. And the last part of today's lesson is going to be into creating movements. Okay. So part of these movements, you have to actually have things set to your macro. So let's find something over here to set to our macro. And let's just take out, yeah, how about, so we're going to right click on our mallet volume and set that to macro 1. And right away, when I move macro 1, it brings that up. Okay. What this does is we can now set up no mallet hit, right? It's negative 60 dB. Press new. That's variation 1. I'm going to rename this to no mallet. Press enter. Then I'm going to change my mallet volume up to where I had it before. Negative 35. Press new. And I would say rename mallet negative 35. One more time, I'm going to make it really loud. And new. Rename mallet negative 10. So if you're on this instrument and you're playing it and you want to have an easy way to get through these, you can now set these play functions to instantly change to different variations, right? This is a pretty simple way of doing it right here. We only have one macro changing, right? But you can obviously set even multiple things to that macro. Let's even say, right? So we can even move that now to a new macro. Does that make sense? So what I'm doing here is actually I'm affecting two things with my macro. I have my dry wet of my comber and my mallet all on this one. And my macro is changing to the exact parameters. So let's just go ahead and try this as an instrument. And just so I'm not clicking back and forth so much, I want to set this to an easier function of one hit. I have a device here, the MPK Mini, a Kai MPK Mini. And on the drum pad, I'm just going to set this up by Command M. and I'm going to hit that so I can set up my three different variations are now going to be triggered. So now I can easily go through, test out macro variation 1, variation 2, and variation 3 is not anything, and that's because my dry and wet went down to nothing. So let's go ahead and just take this one off, unmap, and let's try that again. Map to my macros. All right, so what that actually did was it actually saved over here. So this is actually saying, remember what this is. So it goes and it will remember the new macro. Let's see if I can change that again. All right, so what I'll probably need to do is my up-down function. I'll put this as my down. This is my up, and this as my play. And I'll need to take all of these off because I don't actually want to reset these. That is a cool feature though. So what I just did was, if you really want to save something quickly, you can, these are options to kind of take a snapshot of wherever you're at. So let's go back. No mallet is the first one. We'll snapshot that. And we'll then do -35, and we'll snapshot that. We'll do -10, and we will snapshot that. So now when I go through this, I can now switch through which one is highlighted, and then I can play it. Now that will then do what I'm talking about. It is taking me 2 buttons instead of 1. That's another something we'll have to try and customize to where it's just going to be 1 hit instead. So let's try this out. All right. So let's go into a different instrument. Make sure everything's working. All right. So like I was saying before, you can go through your different variations right here and then be able to play them. This is a way that it's kind of hands off. I'm not having to touch the screen at all. If you guys have any questions around Ableton, please email sf@garnishmusicproduction.com. We have classes going on year-round at our boutique studio in North Oakland at Soul Graffiti Studios. And we also have online lessons. So if you haven't already checked us out, please check us out at sf.garnishmusicproduction.com. My name is Justin Anchetta from Soul Graffiti Studios and SF Garnish Music. And we have a new class coming up in mixing and mastering starting on Sunday the 25th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's going to be an online course. And we look forward to teaching you guys mixing and mastering, sound design, digital audio workstations, Logic, Pro Tools, and Ableton. And I'm currently in an Ableton set here that I'm just going to kind of play out as we move forward. Let's go ahead and try this out. Like I said, if you have any questions, email us Happy to chat with you guys. Notice there's a follow function. That's another feature in Ableton 11, is that you can set your follow functions for an entire scene, right? Here it is right here. Follow action. You can say next, and how many measures. You can even make sure the tempo, everything changes there. Listening to the hi-hat that we just changed up today with the variation in velocity, randomization we just did. If you guys missed what we did earlier today, you can always go to our social media and replay this, our YouTube channels. Thank you, Garnish Music, for sending out to our music network worldwide, all 8 locations. Now see how the follow says follow action next after 4 measures, right? You can look at the next one. There's no follow action set. So this is something new in Ableton 11 that I'm super stoked about, is that your follow actions can be automated easier than using Clifex, for example. Pitch up. Triplet pattern. And our phasing going on our low end. We're going to take off our drums. We're pressing 0. We just want one of those. Let's make sure we have our velocity range turned on. I'm going to take all of these down and then bring my velocity up so that range is kind of in the area that I want. Then customize, change my color. Cool. All right. Thanks for being with me, y'all. Once again, my name is Justin from SF Garnish Music and Soul Graffiti Studios. Stay in touch with us. We'll be back again for West Coast Wednesdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking about mostly Ableton Live, but also Logic and Pro Tools, mixing, mastering, and sound design. I have a special guest, Devin Cottrell, a dancer, that's going to be talking about what types of beats she wants to have in her music. So check us out next Wednesday at 11 a.m., all Wednesdays in 2021. And we'll take it out now. Thanks for being with us. sf.garnishmusicproduction.com. Take care.